Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kevin Cornarens. I'm one of the owners of Advanced Roofing. I'll be moderating over the next few lunch and learns. We're so glad you decided to join us today, and we have some excellent content lined up for you. I want to thank everyone for making the time to be here. We joke, but it seems our schedules are hectic more than ever, so we appreciate you joining our webinar. Today, we're going to go over the challenges that COVID is presenting to your client sites as well as to our employees and what we're doing to keep everyone safe. Then Clint will walk us through budgeting for a re-roof and ramp programs. From there, we'll talk about some of our technology that you could manage those ramp programs as well. Rob, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Kevin. Again, my name is Rob Cornarens. I'm the founder of Advanced Roofing. I started roofing in high school and did it through college. And then when I graduated from the University of Arizona in 1979, my boss had me open a branch in Atlanta, Georgia, and moving to South Florida in 1982. After a year of being with him, I started my own with a $15,000 loan for my dad, one pickup truck, and we grew it. We grew it all on commercial, all mainly on re-roofing, and basically doing what we say we're going to do, quality work and great people. We have great core values that we still have today, and we appreciate everybody coming, and I think we have close to the max of 100 today. Some long-time customers like Publix, over 30 years of maintaining all their buildings is about 14 million square feet, as well as re-roofing over 6 million square feet over the last 30 years. So welcome Publix and everybody else that are long-term customers. And we have a lot of property managers that have one or two properties, and we service them the same way we service all our customers. If you look on the bottom, they have my two sons, Kevin and Mike. They're twins. And then my grandson, Mac. And Mac's joining us. If you look on the screen there, say hi, Mac. Give us a little wave. Yes, he's our third generation. And as everybody knows, the coronavirus has changed everybody's lives. And Mac's home doing his schoolwork and balancing everything has been tough, and I truly appreciate everybody's time today. I think it's been well worth to learn about how to budget for roofing. So the coronavirus, April 1st came out with stay at home. And fortunately for us, we're essential business as in all construction. And we're working on reopening that, the rest of it, as you saw, Governor DeSantis, South Florida is being spared right now because we have the highest cases. But I was lucky to get appointed to the governor's reopen task force. And we spent a week of listening to every industry, the airport industry, airline industry, cruise ships, and everything. And it's really, the numbers are staggering how the losses are building up from this time. But we want to open up safely, and we've always been a safe company. If you look to the right, we initiated washing stations, masks right off the bat. And we're even going further now. We're going with temperature gauges, temperatures for all our employees starting this week. So one of the things I'd like to share with you on Reopen Florida from the construction standpoint is that we keep it safe, open under OSHA guidelines, CDC guidelines in the health department. Also, we're asking for the governor to ask building departments to streamline permits and inspections. That's going to be a problem coming out of this. It is right now. And then last, the stimulus dollars, if they're getting infrastructure dollars, they get it on the street as quick as possible and encourage piggybacking off existing contracts, because that's the quickest way to get it out on the street and then get the job work done and keep people working. We live in a great state of Florida, and we are fortunate to live here in a great country as well. So time to take a poll. This is going to be a quick poll, about 30 seconds, and we'd like to hear how you select a roofing contractor. Is it referral, Google, select the yellow pages, we work with preferred vendors, or other? And I kind of chuckled, and the yellow pages was mine because I'm showing my ages. And basically, you know, when we, before the internet, the yellow pages was the way to find people, the biggest ad or whatever. And we never advertised the yellow pages. It was always word of mouth. We actually did a study 20 years ago and found out that 75% of people that were in the yellow pages 10 years later were no longer there. And after 5 years, only 50% there. We're proud to say we have the same phone number for going on 37 years. So let me see what the results are. And basically, you know, referrals clearly is a great way, and that's 50%. And that's great because That's how we are so successful. Every job we take as a piece of work, and we want to know at the end of the job that we did a job properly, clean, quality work, warranties, and the whole value proposition. So that was great. We're going to go on to just a little bit about us. Basically, we have everything under one roof. We brought in air conditioning. When I started, I realized that subcontracting lifting of the air conditioning units was a hassle. So I bought a little company and we grew that. Lightning protection, same thing on the roofs. We do all re-roofing repairs, as well as coatings and roof asset management. We started solar back in '06, and then we brought a little electrical company. So we like to keep everything vertical to give the client the best quality job that we could possibly can. We have 7 locations. You can see them up there. 5 of them are owned buildings. Why is that important? We see it after hurricanes, especially. A lot of national companies come in, they'll rent a warehouse, they'll take up a bunch of work, and then they're gone. So we want to let our clients know that we're here to stay. As you saw earlier, we got the 3rd generation on the way, and my goal is to see him in the business, doing the same thing we've been doing for 37 years. I'm going to show you a quick video of a job that was an affordable housing project that came to us, and it shows how we can help plan, budget, and then execute a great job. This is up in Orlando, and basically you had to tear off a roof, go back with metal, and then put the solar on that roof. And so there was incentives for them to do the solar, and they chose us, and it was a very successful job. But again, from planning to execution to close out to warranties. Now I'd like to introduce Clint Sockman, and he's actually there talking about that, but we cut the voice out. But Clint grew up in the construction industry and was a commercial roofing at age 16 and worked in his family's business. And then 15 years ago, we somehow got real lucky, came down as just an estimator and worked himself up and started helping us with the solar. He holds the licensing, and now he's a partner in the business. So Clint, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Really appreciate the insight into what's going on in the world today. Yeah, it's been an amazing ride for the last 15 years with Advance, watching the relationships grow. And we're all about supporting our customers and our clients with the best solutions, bringing the best value to the table. And we think today's conversation about how to budget, when to budget, and what to budget for is really one of the key things that we bring to the table. So really looking forward to today's topics. We're going to talk about how and when to budget for re-roofs, how and when to budget for maintenance and replacements, and then using some of our technology platforms that we have available that have come into the roofing industry and really revolutionizing the way people grab a hold of roof assets, manage them like their assets, rather than just reactively managing their properties. So really it's about taking control, understanding the decisions that you make today and how they affect the long stream outcome financially for the businesses and the ownership groups that you're working for. So time for another quick poll. We love to be interactive. How do you currently budget for roof replacements? There's a lot of different ways you can go about it. Experience, you look in your piggy bank, see how much money you got, working with a consultant or a qualified contractor. Maybe you don't have a budget, but we'd love to know exactly what you folks are doing out there. Give it a couple of more seconds and see what the results are. Working with a roof consultant or possibly a qualified contractor, which is another thing that we think is a great path to go down. 52% previous experience. Some people don't even think about budgets, and we understand that. One of the big messages that we're going to go through in the presentation today is the questions that we have to ask, the answers that we're looking for, and how those questions and answers lead us to certain places in the budgeting process. So one of the first things that we do when we're asked to be, when we're brought in to start to develop the budget process, we want to take a good inventory. We start looking at, what type of roof system we have, what's the existing condition, has it been properly maintained, what is the use of the building really? There's a lot of questions that we ask, but we start with this inventory of what you have right now. And then we move into a second phase of asking questions of what your needs are. What does your future look like? Once we do that, we can then start coming up with answers and start building a plan that's a management plan. It's an active plan. It's really evolving to the needs, the wants of the business. And so we start asking the question, can we repair a roof? Can we maintain a roof? Does it have to be replaced? And really, when we start looking at it, maintenance is always the cheapest option. It's the first thing that we want to be able to do. Sometimes it's not in a maintainable state. We have to then turn to repairs. Sometimes repairs aren't enough, and maybe it's rehabilitation. And ultimately, when a roof has reached the end of its life cycle, which is going to be a big part of today's topic, we start talking about replacement. But what are the key questions that we're looking for? What has your service history been on the property? Are you currently spending $5,000 a year, $10,000 a year? Are those expenses concentrated in one area? Do we have chronic leaks, or are these widespread that are indicative of a larger failure? What's your maintenance history? Have you been maintaining the property? If it's been properly maintained, there's a good chance that we can either restore or just do some repairs. What's the investment horizon? What are your ownership needs? When we look at how we specify systems, we can design systems to last 10 years to 30 years. We can take a 30-year design and with no maintenance have it fail in 10 years. And we can take a 10-year design with proper maintenance and get it to last 20 years. There's a lot of ways that you can size the solution. What's the existing roof condition? How is the roof condition affecting business operations? It's a big question to ask. How we would budget and design for an operational hospital could be completely different than how we budget for a warehouse that has, steel goods or fabrication in it, nothing sensitive. Some ancillary factors that a lot of people think are key factors to whether to repair, replace in the budget process: roof age and what's your warranty. We look at warranties. People buy 20-year warranties. They think a roof's going to last 20 years. Well, think again, it very well could. It could last 30 years. But without maintenance, you could be looking at replacing in 5 or 10 years. I can't tell you the amount of roofs that we replace well before their warranty term every year. Roof age is another one. Once again, we get roofs that last 30, 40 years. We get roofs that die in 5, 10. So a lot of people use roof age as this, I need to replace. It's not always the answer. But as we ask these questions, we do come up with good answers. Can it be maintained? Can we put preventative maintenance and an asset management in place? If it can't, can it be repaired and brought to a maintainable state? What's that cost? What's that budget? How long will it last? If repairs aren't an option for a permanent solution, can we repair, then rehabilitate with a coating? And if not, all of those answers are no. We move into that full budget for a replacement conversation. Another quick poll. So what's the largest factor in deciding the life cycle cost of a roof? It's a big question. I mean, everybody thinks about initial cost, but how does life expectancy play into this conversation? Maybe we don't even know what life cycle cost of a roof is. How does maintenance fall into this? The answer is not always obvious, but take a second here and answer the question, and we'll see what the thoughts are. Life expectancy, that's a good one. We got over 56%, initial cost 12%. We got a lot of educated buyers in the room. Life expectancy is huge, but one of the key components of life expectancy is how we handle our maintenance. And so, I think we hit it on the head. A large portion of it is life expectancy, but how to get life expectancy is through the maintenance process. And we'll look at how that plays out. So life cycle cost of ownership, what are our key inputs? Initial costs, life expectancy. It's important to note we need to disconnect life expectancy from a warranty term. Just because we buy a piece of paper from a manufacturer that says something will last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, that is not the life expectancy of the roof. Life expectancy is all about how you use it, how you maintain it. Just like a car, we buy a car with a warranty. It could be the Hyundai of the world, 100,000-mile warranty. Without maintenance, without changing the oil, that warranty is worthless. Maintenance costs, energy savings, could we add more insulation and get cost back over time? Even disposal costs. When we look at installing a second roof system over top of first roof system, what does that do when we have to tear those roofs off? Does it add additional cost? Is it minimal? Is it maximal? All of these things go into creating this wheel, this life cycle cost through the stages of a roof, from installation to maintenance to the ability to restore and then ultimately having to replace. I think it's important to note when we look at this wheel, we see it often. If you skip step number 2, step number 3 is many times not even an option. With lack of maintenance, we get water penetration into a roof. With wet insulation packages, roof restorations and coatings aren't an option per Florida code, per best roofing practices, industry standards. And some things that we like to talk about when you start looking at cost of ownership, life cycle cost of ownership. 80% of roofs fail prematurely due to lack of maintenance. We'll talk about the numbers on average of what they actually turn out to be, but 80% go well before their time. Unplanned repairs, that reactive maintenance strategy, 3 to 5 times the cost of an active management strategy of being out in front of it, planning your maintenance. Proactively maintained roof systems last an average of 21 years. That's an average. Some are 15, some are 30. Reactively maintained roofs, 13 years on average. And one thing that I think some folks forget, if you live in this industry, you know it very well, a roof replacement is often the single most expensive capital expenditure that a building will incur post-construction of the building itself. So, looking at this and managing this can have a dramatic effect on the financial profitability of a business, your personal bank account, whatever it might be. So budgeting for roof maintenance, what does it mean? Why do we do it? And most importantly, which is the next slide, is what is the cost of not doing it? We talked about the 2 strategies that are out there in the world. Reactive maintenance, we're out there calling in, I got an emergency leak, I need a truck out there tonight on overtime at all costs. What happens in reactive situations? We have slip and falls. We get mold intrusion. We have tenant complaints. We're always in this behind the 8 ball conversation. Proactive maintenance, a roof asset management program. We're managing it like an asset. We're managing it just like we do our lives, our checkbooks, anything else, ensuring that there's proper coverage when we need it, before we need it. Unplanned repairs are costly. This is a United States Air Force multi-year study. They studied over 600 million square feet for a period of over 5 years. The U.S. Air Force determined that reactive maintenance cost them 15 cents per square foot, proactive maintenance 4 cents per square foot. Once again, that directly relates into not only cost savings, but we're deferring that capital expense. And we'll see in future slides what that really looks like. And why do we need to manage maintenance if the money portion doesn't, really perk your ears up? Let's talk about what happens with warranties. Every manufacturer's warranty out there, if you're a believer in buying a warranty, read your fine print. Maintenance is required. They do not cover maintenance. And the burden of proof in the event that there is a failure will always fall on the owner to prove that they've done the maintenance properly, that it's been documented and kept into the condition that needs to be kept in. So let's start some comparing, some contrasting conversations here. Let's look at a typical 25,000 square foot roof. And let's baseline it that we installed the same roof system from day one. That roof system costs $10 a square foot to install. It's a $250,000 upfront investment. In the first scenario, we're going to do a ramp roof asset management. We're out in front of it. It's a proactive maintenance strategy. And that costs us 4 cents per square foot to maintain. That's $1,000 a year. It's not a huge investment. Let's take the reactive in scenario 2. where we only do reactive maintenance at a cost of 15 cents per square foot per the military study. And let's give you the benefit of the doubt and say that we don't even do anything for the first 5 years, nothing at all. Meaning there's no leaks. I think that's a very conservative approach to looking at this, but it gives us the most, we're giving them the benefit of the doubt. So when we overlay these two things, not maintaining your roof, we're going to assume that that roof fails in the 15th year of life. And by maintaining it, we extend it out to 25 years. And then we look at a future replacement cost. You can see that by maintaining it, we come out of pocket that initial $250,000 expense. We spend minimal money doing proactive maintenance. And even really, it's minimal money doing reactive maintenance. But look what happens at the premature failure replacement costs when we have to replace that asset after the 15-year mark when it failed, and that other asset is still performing for another 10 years. Our cost of ownership is 260% more just by deploying a reactive maintenance strategy by the time we figure that we have to replace that roof well before it's time, in opposition to being able to extend a roof long before it's time. And when we go back to that conversation about warranties, some of our largest clients don't even pay for warranties. They put that money into maintenance programs. They say, you know what? Warranty is not worth anything. Half the language in here, maybe more, is protective of a manufacturer. So I'm paying for a product that is protecting someone else and really not providing me benefit. How can I put this into a proactive maintenance strategy? How can I use that funding somewhere else? And the net result is the cost of owning this same exact roof that lasts 25 years with a proactive maintenance strategy is $11,000 per year. But when we go into a reactive strategy, we have a roof that fails well before its time, and you're now looking at another capital expense before you need it, that cost of ownership goes up to $28,000 a year. So that's one way that we can look at and compare and contrast how we budget and what we would budget for. Budgeting for maintenance is a key thing. Not doing it can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another way that we look at budgeting, we can move into the next slide, is how do we compare two different systems in itself? What am I going to budget for? What's the right solution for me? We've already established that initial cost, most of us in the room, 56%, don't feel that initial cost is the largest factor to the cost of ownership. We heard a lot of other things, right? We heard replacement cost, we heard, maintenance costs. So it's not always initial cost. And this is a point in case. We take that same 25,000 square foot roof and we say, okay, well, here's your 20-year life expectancy TPO at $10 a square foot. Well, what if we went to a high performance membrane, a PVC membrane, still in the same single ply category, but rather than being in your baseline TPO, commodity product, we go into a high performance PVC key membrane that's designed for 30-year life expectancy. And we say everything else stays the same installation. We take the same roof asset management process and we say, we're going to do the exact same maintenance on this. Well, if we take these two scenarios and by choosing a system that has a higher initial cost, right? We jump from $250,000 to $275,000. So we're a 10% increase in cost. You're able to drop your average cost of ownership from $10,000 a year, from $23,000 a year for that 20-year product to $10,000 per year. And we can play with these terms to any way you want to see it. But the truth is all roof systems don't last the same. We can't maintain everything forever. But if we can look at this subjectively and choose products that fit the goals of the building, of the structure, of the ownership group, the investments are wildly different when we start talking about budgeting and the choices that we make throughout the budgeting process. So these are two ways that we really think can set you apart on how you manage your assets and the choices you make when going to the market for roofing choices.
Thanks, Clint. We actually had a question in the audience. I'm going to throw that out.
Yeah.
So the question was, how does hurricane impact roof life cycles?
It's a good question. I think, you know, heavy wind loads certainly put additional stress on a roof system. You know, there's a lot of dynamic forces that go on with uplift. They can stress the attachment points, whether that's mechanical attachments from the deck to the membrane, whether that's adhesive attachments, and you put stress on the insulation facers and the structural components that are holding a system together. I think there's design strategies that can be implemented really almost in any phase of a roof, whether it's post-hardening with additional perimeter securements after a roof has already been installed. You know, when we look at how winds work in a hurricane zone, they're highly concentrated in the perimeters. It's almost always perimeter flashing details and perimeter roof areas that are breached first in these storms. So if we can harden those areas, you can offset it. Your choices in the budgeting process can also affect it. Implementing things like Densdeck and SecureRock hardboards into your insulation package provide a dramatic increase in uplift capabilities. So we can design around it. It's certainly there. You know, improper design, you know, almost everything in Florida is permitted, and so it's designed to the wind speeds, but there's certain systems that are always stronger than others that can be implemented to help us withstand those loads. So that's a great question. We always like to leave everybody with a little something to take along with them. Here's some re-roof budget planning cheat sheets. We always like to caveat these. These are very much kind of middle of the road product choices. They're not your high performance membranes. They're also middle of the road scenarios for project complexity. Things like access points and, you know, if you take my high-rise number here and you have excessive amounts of telecom equipment that has to be raised for flashing and worked around, these might not work. But if you take your average scenarios, these numbers are very good budget references for us to start with. If you're not sure, work with a contractor, find somebody you trust to get a number dialed in. If you don't have time, I would always tell everyone to sway towards that high side in hopes that you come in under budget at any point in time. But this is a great tool for everybody to have with them as they move into managing assets. I'm going to turn it over to Rob. He's going to talk briefly about some of our projects that were completed in 2019 and how they relate to this whole conversation.
Yeah. Thank you, Clint. So here's a couple projects that we want to focus on. This is Seacoast Towers. I actually did this in my first year in business, 1984, with a coal tar pitch. It was still functioning well, and we were actually given them a price to put a recoat of coal tar for another 20 years, but they wanted to change the colors and everything else, so they ended up selecting us. Again, some of these are the roofing projects. This is Beacon Hill. This is an example of planning and budgeting and getting it done with solar and taking advantage of the tax credits. And some of these jobs you'll recognize around the state. Again, Publix supermarkets. This is their Palm Harbor. We did a very large project for the distribution center in Deerfield, and just some coatings and difficult jobs. Parker Playhouse with coatings here with the silicone. And as I said, we have our own air conditioning, and that's why we do the air conditioning and the roofing at the same time. Back to Kevin.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Clint. A lot of great information there, a lot of charts and numbers. I'm sure a lot of your mind's going, how do we figure this out? And so today I want to show you some tools that we have in our toolbox to help you walk through budgeting and RAMP, which we call Roof Asset Management Programs. One of my roles in the company is to make sure the operations is running on all cylinders. And here you see some photos about apprenticeship program. We're statewide, but to make sure we have consistency, really involved in training, as well as helping our clients in different areas. So I'm going to jump into the technology side. I'm going to display a little video to show you. But first, I want to ask a quick question. If you had to produce your roof warranty documents today, could you? So we have a technology to help you. It's free to manage all your roof asset management plan. And so we're just going to touch on it a little bit today. to go over the budgeting process of it. But it looks like the most of you are well practiced. It's 70% could produce their warranties and the other 32% can't. So we're going to show you how we could help you with that. But first, we're going to start with this 90-second video.
But Nicole is in over her head, literally, with roofing issues. She's spending most of her time coordinating maintenance and repairs, analyzing reports, and budgeting for future projects, all while frantically searching for her roof's important documents when issues arise. And to complicate matters, all of Nicole's properties have different roof systems and life cycles, making routine asset management nearly impossible. Nicole was feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, trying to manage all of her roofs using different paper forms and spreadsheets, when she heard about the Advanced Access Roof Asset Management Portal from Advanced Roofing, Inc. In business since 1983, Advanced Roofing, Inc. is ranked as the #1 commercial roofing company in Florida by Roofing Contractor Magazine and specializes in roof replacements, repairs, and maintenance services for occupied buildings in Florida. Advanced Roofing implemented the Advanced Access Roof Asset Management Portal to help its customers achieve the maximum life cycle from their roofing assets through preventative maintenance, while feeling safe and secure by having complete control over their roofs 24/7, 365 days a year. From any internet-ready device, Nicole can now view all of her roof's information in one location, dispatch service with the click of a button, track work orders in real time, see photos from repairs, view warranty documents, and build custom reports for budgeting. Everything she needs is uploaded to her customer portal seamlessly and can be viewed from anywhere, anytime, even from the beach. With Advanced Access, Nicole can now streamline her roofing projects for good, allowing her to concentrate on what matters most, ensuring a safe environment for her tenants and saving money for her properties. So, if you're a building owner or property manager with multiple buildings to care for, don't get overwhelmed. Get Advanced Access.
So that's a quick video about the different modules for Advanced Access to help solve your roofing needs. You see Nicole was at the beach. I know some of us in the state are allowed to go to the beach now. Unfortunately, in South Florida, we're still in lockdown. But this is another tool to help remotely manage your roofs. And we're going to talk about the budgeting module for today. So next slide, please. So what does the budgeting tool look like, and how can it help you? So the first step is we go out, we do a site inspection. What does that look like? We look at the different roof sections of your roof. We label them, we put the square footage in, we look at the estimated install date, and then we judge the condition based off of our experience. From there, we document any emergency repairs, any remedial repairs, put pricing to them, and document them with photos in an online platform for you to view. From there, we summarize that data into each section. So you'll see emergency repairs, remedial, and then replacement. All these numbers that Clint was talking to, all now in one platform for you to evaluate your roofing needs. We then work together to prioritize. We know budgets are difficult right now with the unknown of COVID. So we work together. We prioritize which of the roof sections you have budgets for, which is more important to you. If it's your IT infrastructure center, if it's your distribution center. So we walk through each of these line items. So from a 6 would be the highest priority, and then 1 would be the lowest priority. From there, we go into the emergency column. Previous slide, please. So emergency, these items, those are the reactive. That was the column Clint was talking to. These are the items that you're going to spend a lot more on. These are your leak, your T&M tickets. We try to keep our clients out of this emergency bucket and in the remedial bucket. The remedial items, these are the items that are going to make your roof last longer, up to that 30-year mark that usually 80% of our clients aren't proactively doing these in the roofing industry. But if you stay on top of your roofs, these remedial items are usually what will make your roof last longer. If you wait on these items, that's what degrades the roof life cycle. The last column there is a budgetary number for the replacement of your roof. to give you an estimate. And why do we put a replacement number there? To help you budget long-term. Next slide, please. From here, we summarize all that data after we work together by site and section, and then expense history as well. So you'll see all those remedial items here. You could quickly budget for them, prioritize them. And then on the next slide, you'll see your high level budget numbers as well. When you'd like to replace them, what do you have budget for? And then we could work together. If you have, 100,000 for next year or 200,000 for the following year, this is where we could work together. Or the Platinums, you have your own login to the platform too. So if you feel very independent and comfortable, we could get you trained up, and the tool's free for you to use. From there, I know a lot of us use Excel as our baseline for budgeting or financial analysis. So all this data is easily exportable as well. So let's say, the platform's not really for you, but we work together in a session one-on-one, then we could give you all this data in Excel as well, and you can manipulate it and import it into your own budgeting software. I know a lot of you have, building information softwares for all trades. So we provide the Excel document for you as well. How do you get started? It starts with a free inspection. One of our experts in the state of Florida comes out to your roof. We'll set up an inspection and then walk you through a report on how that would look like for you. From there, we'll also go into depth on the different other modules of the software as well. And we're going to do that in another Lunch and Learn. I want to keep this very high level so we have time for a Q&A session. So the webinar coming up on June 4th in about a month, we'll walk into the weeds in detail, but we're coming up, we could set up one-to-one sessions with you as well. A few other things that we look for when we go out on roof inspections, safety. We partnered with one of the key manufacturer of safety for your rooftop. OSHA has come out with some new regulations. So next week, we're focusing on safety products. And if you have a lot of traffic on your roof, what to look for. What does that look like? So those would be the remedial items for your rooftop. In 2 weeks, Clint's going to join us again, talking about solar energy, what we're seeing with tax incentives, how to maximize these during the COVID times. In 3 weeks, hurricane season starts off in June. We're going to be talking about hurricane tips and tricks, what to do to, there's that great question earlier about, hurricane and how does that affect your roof cycle. There's definitely different techniques we could do to make sure your hurricane's prepared, your roof is prepared for hurricane season. So that kind of wraps it up for today. I know there's some Q&A questions I see popping up. I know there was one, Jess, if you could, a question I saw out there was around what is a good preventive maintenance checklist? And we could, send those out after to the question, but do you have that slide ready? Yep, we got the checklist up. Julian, if you could walk us through the checklist.
Sure, Kevin. Hi, everyone. So basically what we do when we step on your roof, first thing we try to check is that the roof is free of debris, so the water can drain properly. We check internal drains, we check gutters, downspouts, any scupper. We make sure that, again, everything is free of debris. We check all the flashings. We inspect your walls to check that the waterproofing has not failed. If it has any crack that could go into the roof. If it's an easy fix, we fix it while on site. If it's something major, when the whole waterproofing has failed, we notify and we give you a proposal. We check that the flashings, all penetrations are properly filled. Any counter flashing has proper caulking on top, so it can prevent any water intrusion. Any detail, we try to focus on all the details where the water can come in. So that's basically what we try to check. And coping caps, we make sure that the seams are properly sealed, that the roof edges or any metal in the roof is not rusted. If it's rusted, it would have to be replaced. Any expansion joint, we make sure that it's properly sealed as well. So basically, Kevin, and all the audience, what we try to focus is on the details of your roof.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Julian. And we'll get that slide out to the audience as well. Clint,
Julian, do you mind expanding on, that's what we're inspecting under a preventative maintenance program. There are also standard repairs that we included with our preventative maintenance program. So beyond the visual inspection and the reports, what are the repairs associated, the standard repairs that we're making under a PM program?
Sure. So usually, let's say that you have a modified bitumen roof, we always make sure that the seams on the parapet, on the base flashings, what we do is we go with a 3-course repair if they are open. 3-course would mean roof cement and asphalt membrane, and then we put some aluminum to make sure that those, let's call it weakest point of the roof can get open. So we focus on those. We make sure that the drains are properly sealed. If not, we make sure that they are watertight. We check all the pitch pans. Usually what we do is that we top them. So we make sure that there's no water sitting on those weak points. So water can run off of those penetrations on the roof. We remove all the debris, any granules, any leaves. If your building is a warehouse or an industrial building, usually we have trees growing on top of them. So we make sure that any leaf is removed or any granule accumulation is removed. If there is any blister that is opening a roof seam, if we can, we repair it while on site. If the damage is major, we notify the customer and give them a proposal for that. Those are basically the items that we try to focus on. HVAC or any equipment, we make sure that everything is secured to the roof in the case of a high wind event. So the units, they don't become loose and can create a bigger problem. So those are the main things that we do when we step on a roof to do your preventive maintenance.
And then that's all done by in-house employees, right, Julian?
Correct, yeah.
That was one of the questions on the board. We actually are at 570 employees, W-2.
Excellent. We have another question here too related to solar. So how does the action of incorporating a solar system when doing a roofing project impact the life cycle cost? And are you able to calculate a simple payback period for the roofing system as a whole by incorporating a solar system?
Yeah, so that's a great question, very insightful. Solars are by far our fastest growing business segment, and that's a lot to do with the ability to integrate it into the roofing process. So we're doing that every day. There's two ways to look at it. We can look at it from a combined perspective, meaning we lump in a roofing project that really has no return other than business operations associated with it financially, and then an energy asset that does have a financial return associated with it. Meaning we mix it all together and provide a simple payback. Another way that we prefer to look at it is if you're incurring that roof expense anyways, we separate that out. We look at the solar investment by itself, and then we can factor the additional roofing costs and the additional tax credits that can be gained by doing them in conjunction together to show you, okay, well, if you did solar by itself, this is what it looks like. If you do roofing by itself, this is what it looks like. And if you leverage the ability to capture additional tax credits associated with the solar installation, here's a third scenario. We call that cost shifting, where we're able to move components of that roof system into the solar array and take the additional tax benefits associated with it. So as far as the life cycle cost goes, if we look at it purely from just the two costs together, the life cycle cost will actually go out. But if you look at it from the perspective of you have this capital expense regardless that you're going to incur, and what happens if we put solar into it, your cost of ownership actually comes well down. When you're staring down a capital expense and we have the ability to put an energy producing, cash flow producing energy stream into it, that cost of ownership comes well down.
Awesome. Thanks for that answer, Clint. I've got one more question or two more. How has the drop in oil prices reduced the cost of repairs and replacements? I could take that one. We haven't seen that shift down the supply chain yet. It definitely could impact pricing long term or short term. Clint, have you seen anything more up to date? I have not.
Yeah, I will say the manufacturers themselves are typically very slow to react. Prices tend to creep up. We very rarely see them come down. We go out to competitive procurement on every production job, and we're negotiating to best prices every day in our supply chain on the repair process around the state. So we're able to leverage the cheapest pockets of purchasing and then put that into play in all of our offices. So if we're getting a better pricing structure out of our Tampa office, we leverage that into South Florida, vice versa. But I will say this, we haven't seen anything come down yet. The oil prices have really just started to fall within the last, let's call it 60 days. I don't know if it will come, but we haven't seen it yet. As far as our operating expenses, I think running trucks is getting less expensive, and we look at that quarterly as well, but nothing new has come yet.
Great. Thanks, Clint. A few more questions rolling in, which is excellent. Next question. I believe I'm reading this right. It says 5% of replacement to be reserved per year on a 20-year ? I'm guessing should you be budgeting about 5% of replacement per year for a 20-year roof is the way I'm reading the question?
Yeah, I'll take that, Kevin. I think it's a smart approach to be, proactively setting aside reserves or, some sort of capital expenditure funding. 5% per year is good. I think it's important to look at, if today's cost is X, what is 20 years from now's cost, that inflation factor, whether we use, 2, 3, 5%, something that's pretty widely accepted. Very rarely is inflation 0, except in very poor times, somewhere around where we are now. But 2 to 3% is good when we're forward looking. So I think factoring that, but also understanding what that cost is. We talked about it before, and when you're actually going to have to take it. It's one thing to say it's 20 years. It's another thing if you get caught only budgeting on a 20-year, but you got to replace it in year 10, you could be in a bad place. We often see, condo boards in positions where they're staring down assessments, trying to get creative with financing. So that comes back to, how we manage the asset. Do we understand where we are in the cycle? But it's a very insightful question. I think, having a management plan like that says, hey, I'm looking at 20 years replacement. I'm already halfway through. I think it might be 10. Here's what the cost is going to be at that point, and trying to work towards that active management is the right approach. I don't think there's a blanket answer. We have to kind of ask those questions and get to those answers.
Awesome. Thanks, Clint. I don't know, Jorge, if that answered your question or if you have more insight on that, let us know. I got another question here, Mike, I think you're going to take. Do you foresee any cost impact to the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, as of today, we haven't seen costs go up or down. We've seen some internal costs creeping because of PPE that we're providing to employees. But as far as, and then we're seeing some savings with gas prices. So it's on an estimating side of the numbers I see going out the door now, they haven't gone one way or the other. The material suppliers have gotten a little bit aggressive on material, but it's nothing that has been monumental in the last 30 days at least. So it's all kind of evened itself out. Some things have gone up, some things have gone down, but it's leveled out. So that's the good news.
And Mike, talk a little bit about availability of materials. We really haven't seen any, international shortages from the roofing perspective. So talk a little bit about what we're seeing as far as supplies, material supplies for our jobs.
Yeah, we have seen some shortage. We've been able to mitigate it, mainly on the fastener and metallic side of things coming out of China when the COVID pandemic started. Since then, we've ordered truckloads of commonly used fasteners and been mitigating a lot of that, doing direct shipments. But since then it seems like everybody's gotten caught up on it. China is shipping again, so there was some drop in the material availability, but there is, every day I hear a different story. So when we're looking at jobs and we have jobs coming up, we're making sure we're having material ready 4 weeks out, and so there is no hiccup in your projects and in our keeping our guys busy. At the end of the day, it's everybody that works for Advanced Roofing's family, and I need to make sure everybody's getting their hours every week. So it's been an artwork in the background keeping everybody rolling.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike, for expanding on that. Got a question for Julian. How often do you need to do maintenance?
Usually, we recommend once or twice a year maintenance. It all depends on the roof conditions. Conditions would basically, by conditions, I mean, how many penetrations do you have? Do you have severe ponding water that we need to monitor on a constant basis? So it all depends. Once a year, it's a roof that is not affected by external factors too much. Twice a year, we will recommend when there are some specific conditions on the roof.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Julian. We've got 5 more minutes left, and we have 1 more question left. So if anyone has more questions, we're here. The last question I currently have, is there a cost with that budgeting software we saw today? And I could take that one. No, it's free. So it's part of being a client of Advanced Roofing, and the data is yours. So we'd love to show you an example. So hopefully that answered your question. Any other questions?
Hey, Kev, I just saw a question. Do we know anybody in Louisiana? And I'm a founder of Roof Connect, which is a national organization of privately held roofing companies, all tier 1 across the country. So during hurricanes, we can bring in other Roof Connect members to, handle all our clients. But if you have a property in another area around the country, whether it's your mom's home or another business or property, feel free to call us, because Roof Connect is a great organization, and we can help anywhere in the country.
Excellent. Okay. Sorry, Danielle, I did miss your question, and we got just 2 questions popping in. So Danielle asked, is an 8-year warranty kind of short? So I think, Clint, if you want to talk to the warranty of what you typically see for a warranty, I think Danielle mentioned she lives in a condo unit, a condo association. So what do you see for her?
Yeah, 8 years is an interesting term. It's definitely not something that we play in often. I think I hear 8-year warranties come up sometimes in the coating world. Our normal warranty terms 10, 15, 20. With coatings, we'll see things in the 5-year range. There is no right or wrong term. It's really about what the board or the ownership group chose to go with when they were either in negotiations with their contractor or their consultant specified. So I think you'd want to look at the documents that were bought and what you purchased. Whatever the roof system is, it doesn't mean it can't be maintained, or we can't look at it to identify where it is in the cycle and try to extend, or ultimately replace. But 8 years is an odd term. I wouldn't say it's never seen it before, but it's certainly not one of the more common warranty terms.
Yeah, if I could add to that, there's contractors and manufacturers warranties. I strongly suggest if you're going to accept a contractor's warranty, make sure that they're backed by something. We actually have our own captive insurance company that has over $2 million in assets. We can't touch it. It's there for the protection to back our warranties. So that's a very important thing. And the net worth of a contractor is important. So it's important to look at those as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob, for sharing that. We got another question. Julian, I think you're best to answer this. If we have a maintenance agreement with you, do you include repairs that pop up?
So on our maintenance, what we do is we do a due diligence in order to prevent any leak. If a leak occurs on an item that we were supposed to be doing on your maintenance, let's see, let's call it a pitch pan that wasn't properly filled, or a counter flashing caulking that was missed on the agreement, of course, we will take care of that leak at no cost for you. If the leak is caused by an external factor, like another trade contractor that dropped something on your membrane and it broke, and then you have some water leak, we always have time and material agreements that could work for you, and we could repair it on that specific case. So it's something related to our maintenance. Of course, we will take care of it. It's external factor. We can treat it under a time and material agreement.
Really appreciate everyone's time today. Be safe, wash your hands, have a great rest of the week. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks.